Hey everybody, how's it going? This is a little update. I started writing down my own variations on the Blood and the Void special rules for for playing in a boarding assault mission or scenario. And I think the Blood and the Void is really cool. I love it. I think it's fine, if you have an open mind, you can adapt it to fit certain codex restrictions. But I wanted to make it a little bit more easier to follow for armies that are not Space Marines, because after all, it was part of the Badab War thing. It was written really with Space Marines in mind, in my opinion. So what I did is, I'm not done. It's a work in progress. But I'm going to share with you what I have, because I think this is the most important part. I'm going to leave certain things completely untouched, like the Cold Void and the catastrophic damage rules and stuff like that, and the battle stratagems. I'm not going to touch. I'm just going to use them as is. This is kind of an adaptation to the other parts. Like, I'm not going to change how Vault gains work. I'm not really going to change how Hull gains work. And I'm going to do a little bit of change to deck layout, like when you promotionally Space Hulk style fighting. I'm going to do a little bit of tweaking there eventually, once I figure out how to properly put it into words. But for the most part, most of it's going to be pretty much here in the beginning for selecting your forces and everything like that. So yeah, here we go. The following rules, I made a little blurb, are for 140k to represent a boarding action against enemy starships or starforts. They can also represent battles on and in atmosphere craft, or like hovering structures, like hovering citadels and all that. It can also be used to represent battles inside a massive complex, like a giant forge building on a forge world, or a gigantic administratum building, or a gigantic alien structure that you're inside. Basically, use your imagination. These rules are pretty much represent you fighting inside a confined space. Instead of being on a battlefield where you may have some buildings for cover and whatnot, but you have the sky above you, you have a set ceiling above you, and corridors to go through, and with some big rooms and whatnot. So anything that fits like that, caves and caverns, underground complex, underground complex, things of that nature. So, each game must have an attacker and a defender, which can be determined however the players wish. For force selection, I left the attackers and defenders the same in terms of what they have to take and the maximum they can take for each force organization slot. If you're wondering what that is for the force organization slot, check out Blood in the Void Part 1. The only change I made is that instead of having 5 troops per side, you can have a total of 6 troops per side, just like in a normal game. It just felt better to me. Now, forces selected for fighting in a boarding action should be chosen from their codex as normal, with the following exceptions. Units may not select a dedicated transport option. No vehicles are allowed except for walkers and artillery, which are only allowed if they are on a base no bigger than 60 millimeters. So 60 millimeters is the max size you're allowed to use as far as a base goes in this game, or in this mission for 40k. And let's be fair, guys. Don't try and model something that would normally go on a bigger base on a smaller base, just so it can fit in. If it's not meant to be on that smaller base, don't model it on it. So if the base it comes with, or the base it's designed to use, is larger than 60 millimeters, then it's not allowed. Now here's where we start getting a little bit more universal, and where I start really tweaking the rules. Not tweaking, but adding to the rules and modifying things a bit to make it more encompassing for the different armies out there. Monstrous creatures are allowed, but only if they are on a 60 millimeter base or smaller. Same thing applies as far as rules. Don't try and model them on a smaller base. If their base is larger than 60 millimeters, then it's not allowed. So no Trigons or Morlocks. Basically, the walkers, artillery, and monstrous creatures follow the same rule. Important note: while these units are allowed, monstrous creatures, walkers, and artillery, they may be hindered by the amount of terrain on the board, because there's going to be a lot of terrain on a boarding action board. So use them with caution. Now, Codex Space Marines, Codex Black Templars, and Codex Dark Angels armies that select Assault Marine squads may select them without jump packs, and they will count as a troop choice. Basically, if you take them without the jump packs, they count as troops in boarding action games. Note that in the case of these codices, just purchase them as normal, but just don't model them with a jump pack on, or magnetize it or something. For example, a Black Templar's Codex doesn't have any way to take them without their jump packs. But being that this is a special scenario, you just buy them as normal and have no jump packs on them. Same thing for the Space Marine Army and the Dark Angel Army. Just buy them as normal, but have no jump packs on them. Now, like Dark Angels, you can take dedicated transport for free. I believe the Space Marine Army could do the same thing or something similar like that. But just spend the points. Don't do any point deductions. Just spend the points as is. Unless it specifically says in the entry, like, this because they are 15 points cheaper or whatever. I don't know. I don't think they do anymore. So yeah, you are, only putting them with regular infantry stats instead of jump infantry for the same points, which may seem unfair to some of you gamers out there, but now they become a troop choice. That's cool. And that was something that was in the Blood on the Void rule already, but it was only for Codex Space Marines, so I added it to Black Templars and Codex Dark Angels. Now, there's no Space Wolves in here because, to my knowledge, their Skyclaw Assault Pack, or whatever their Blood Claws are called, with jump packs, is pretty much just that, a smaller Blood Claw squad with jump packs. I'm going to look through the Codex later on to see if there really is any war gear distinction differences that would make them advantageous to take without jump packs, and then they'll follow the same rules with smaller without jump packs, and I'll include them in here like that. But to my knowledge, it's exactly the same, so there was no reason to do that. If you want your Skyclaw squad without jump packs, take Blood Claws, or whatever they're called. Now, Codex Tau may take Pathfinders without needing to take the required Devilfish transport. Normally, to take Pathfinders, it has to be taken with a Devilfish. Obviously, no dedicated transports are allowed, no vehicles are allowed except for walkers and artillery. So, this would kind of make it unable to take Pathfinders following the restrictions for Tau. But, to make it fair, take them without the Devilfish transport, no problem. Alright, now I added something for Codex Eldar in here. I don't know if it's even really necessary to do it. I just felt like it'd be kind of a fun idea because I'm a big fan of one of these units. I said Codex Eldar may take Warp Spiders as troop choices for every Dire Avenger squad in their army. I may take that rule out. I just am a big fan of Warp Spiders. I think they fit very well in a boarding action type of gameplay. So that's why I put it in there. Because you're probably not going to take Rangers or Pathfinders in these games for the most part. You might, but you may not. So I want to kind of keep you having some variety in your troop choices. And Codex Demons, I'm still working on trying to make this be fair for them and not overpowered. Right now, it's they may have a Herald and one squad of troops of the same Chaos God set up on the board using the Infiltrate special rules to represent our preliminary warp breach in the area. Basically, demons come onto the battlefield via deep striking. They pretty much break through the fabric of reality to come onto this plane of existence. And normally, they deep strike in half their army first turn. Which, with all the terrain that's going to be on the table, could be a little problematic. It could really make it not fair with having a high amount of deep strike mishaps and all that stuff that can happen. So, usually, I think heralds and troop choices can have like an icon type of thing on them that acts like a teleport homer. I don't know. I have to double check their codex. But as it stands now, having one herald and one troop choice of the same Chaos God set up on the board to infiltrate kind of represents like a preliminary warp breach, like the drizzle before the thunderstorm type of thing, if you want to think about it that way. If anybody has any insight on what else I could do or how I could change this to make it a little bit more fair to Codex Demons, I'd like to know, because I'm still thinking I kind of like how it is now, but mostly a lot of the times a herald is part of a squad. Like if you take a herald on the Korn's steed thing, the Blood Crusher or whatever it's called. I'm blanking on the name, but you know what I'm talking about, the Blood Crusher squads. Normally if you have a herald on the same type of mount, you're going to sometimes attach them to that squad, right? And that squad wouldn't be able to come in then. So I don't know. What I may also end up saying is I may end up changing it to, you may have a herald attached to any squad he can normally be attached to, and one squad of troops from the same Chaos God may set up on the board using the infiltrate rule. Just to make it a little bit fair like that. I don't make it too broken. I don't want to say broken because that's the wrong term. I don't want to make it too unbalanced against them or for them in this type of action. I want it to be the idea is to have fun with this type of gameplay. I want it to be fun for Codex Demon players as well, because a boarding action could be pretty cool. You can represent like a Geller field failing or having a momentary lapse in the warp, or a warp breach happening on a ship that's battling against Chaos Insurgents or whatever. So I want them to be a part of this too. Now, I have nothing else for any other codex because I didn't think any other codex really needed a bump to anything, or really needed any way to represent like a boarding force. I think a lot of the other codices do that well as is. So yeah, I'm gonna be thinking about them some more. If anybody has any suggestions on codex that's not representing like Imperial Guard, Dark Eldar, the Inquisition, feel free to make a suggestion in the comments section, or if you have an idea of how to help out the Codex Demons a little bit, also leave a comment. And lastly, I just left the special rules. The rules for reserves, scouts, and infiltrators remains unchanged unless stated by a mission. However, only units able to teleport in from reserve, example Terminators, or materialize from the warp, example Demons, can make use of the Deep Strike rule. Warp Spiders also can make use of the Deep Strike rule. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. But unless they Deep Strike in similarly to how Terminators or how Demons do it, teleporting or materializing from the warp, if they don't materialize or teleport in, you can't use Deep Strike rules. It's just the way it goes. That's what some of the battle stratagems are for. Anyways, that went on longer than I expected. Hopefully it wasn't too boring. And feel free to leave some comments. And until next time, take it easy.